past your time. Thank you for coming out this evening to Pine Bluff City Council meeting, May the 18th. We have two speakers signed up tonight that will be speaking on agenda items. And the first speaker is Miss Mary Jo McCord, if you would please come forward. And what I'm going to ask each of you to do, because we do have several speakers tonight, to please, whenever the buzzer goes off, be respectful of that buzzer and other people's time. Thank you. And Miss Mary Jo will be speaking on item number 7.
Hello, my name's Mary Jo McCord. I live in the 4th Ward, as you'll find out real quick. Pine Bluff covers 45 square miles. We have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the choice of where we practice our religion. But certain members of the council want to dictate where people live that work for the city. Maybe the most qualified person for a particular job lives a few miles out of the city and owns a home there. Should they have to uproot their family to abide by your rules? You say you want to see our city grow, yet you impede any progress anyone else suggests. If you aren't coming up with solutions everyone can live with, then you are part of the problem. You should step aside and let someone who really cares about our city do the job. Mr. Steps, you are an alderman in the 4th Ward. Yet I've lived there for 29 years, and I have never seen you out there. I can see what hasn't been done. I'm speaking. I can see what hasn't been done. Our streets are terrible, open ditches, no sidewalks, and millions of mosquitoes. No improvements except in the university area. If we continue on this path, we are going to become another Gould, Arkansas. You want to keep people from living Pine Bluff? What do you suggest? A wall like China? Or maybe the Berlin Wall? Give people something to make them want to stay here, not rules telling you where you have to live. Look around you. Our main street is crumbling. We look like Nepal. Only ours is one building at a time. You want to air your personal agendas. If Mr. Steps, the Browns, and Walker say you can't work with Mr. Brummett, then maybe you should be the ones to resign and work somewhere else. Get onto the big problems, not your little petty differences.
Thank you. Next speaker, Reverend Jesse Turner, number 12.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for allowing me to address you this evening. Approximately 76% of the people in Pine Bluff are black. Over 30% live below poverty, and 43% of youth live below poverty. The median household income is $30,000. Black folk need jobs in Pine Bluff. Black neighborhoods have poor housing, open ditches, narrow streets, poor street lighting, no sidewalks, while the black community suffers for a lack of basic services. Some on this council have turned their attention to racial grandstanding. Item 12 on tonight's agenda is a clear example of racial games. Alderman Walker said last year, July 16, 2014, in the Pine Bluff commercial, and I quote, "I went to the meetings and I learned how it was going to be. My concerns have been addressed regarding the splash pad." Item 12 was implemented before the last election, and Ms. Walker wants to repeal it. Why? It should be pulled from the agenda. All of the recent action by some on this council have been motivated and driven by race, personal agendas, while black folk in Pine Bluff hurt. It is wrong. I believe black people in Pine Bluff would rather have jobs than what they have gotten from some on this council over the last 3 years. We need jobs in Pine Bluff. This is not about racial games. And we would hope that this council would unify itself as one and work together, because working together works.
Thank you. The Pine Bluff City Council meeting for May the 18th, 2015. May we have roll call, please?
Alderman Brummett.
Here.
Alderman Stepp.
Here.
Alderwoman Walker. Alderman Boyd.
Here.
Alderman Brown Sr.
Here.
Alderman Mays.
Here.
Alderman Holcomb.
Here.
Alderman Brown Jr.
Here.
Each of you have a copy of the minutes from
moved.
May the 4th. Okay, it's been properly moved and second that the minutes from May the 4th be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will move on to the committee reports. Before we do so, I am going to make a request at this time. As being the presiding officer of the city council meetings, it is my duty to make sure that this council moves city business in an orderly fashion. So I'm going to ask each one of you to please, as you're giving your committee reports, to allow those reports to remain germane within the committee that you are reporting on. If you do not have a report, state as such, but we will keep the committee reports as within the committee. And I'm requesting that. Thank you. Moving on, Ways and Means, Alderman Brummett.
Yes, Mayor. The Ways and Means Committee met prior to the meeting. We have two budget adjustments that were in your packet. One of them concerns the fire department and a change within that department, which is tied to ordinance number 9. Once ordinance 9 is approved, if it is, then I would ask that we come back to that one and vote on it at that time. We have two others. One is from involving the transfer for adjustments for the 911 communications budget for share of the retirement of an employee. The amount is $7,177.24, and the recommendation is that come from undesignated general funds. I move we accept this budget adjustment.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the budget adjustment in the amount of $7,177.24 be approved. This is for a retirement from a city employee. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, then we have another one for a retirement with 51.9 days of sick leave within the fire department for a long-term employee. The amount is $5,414.71, and the department has that within their department salary account that they can be able to fund that. I move we accept this budget adjustment from the fire department.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a budget adjustment in the amount of $5,414.71 be approved coming from the fire department. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, I move that the bills that the city owes be paid.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the bills for the city be paid. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, that concludes Ways and Means.
Thank you, sir. Ordinance and resolutions, Alderman Brummett.
Yes, Mayor, the Ordinance and Resolutions Committee met prior to the meeting. Items 1, 2, and 3 will be read for their third reading, final readings. Items 4, 5, 6, and 7 will be the second reading. 8, 9, and 10, the committee requesting that we complete those. Number 12 has been pulled by the sponsor. We will complete the other resolutions 11 through 16. We have one to add that was brought to the committee. It's a resolution authorizing the Economic and Community Development Department to apply for grant from the Arkansas Department of Human Services to combat homelessness in the city of Pine Bluff. And this is this grant, if I understand it right, that we need to go ahead and approve this tonight because there's a strong need to be able to get the paperwork done before the end of the month to be able to apply for this grant. So I move we add this to the agenda.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the resolution authorizing Economic and Community Development Department to apply for a grant from the Arkansas Department of Human Services to combat homelessness in the city of Pine Bluff. Floor is now open for discussion. May we have roll call, please?
Alderman Brummett.
Aye.
Alderman Steph.
Aye.
Alderwoman Walker. Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Brown Sr.
Aye.
Alderman Mays. Alderman Holcomb.
Aye.
Alderman Brown Jr.
Aye.
Motion passes.
That
Number
concludes
17.
Resolutions, ordinance and resolutions. 17, correct.
Thank you. Moving on to Economic and Community Development, Alderman Brown Sr.
Thank you, Mayor. We, Community Development did have a meeting on this morning at 10:30, May 18th. And it was a very lengthy, long meeting. Basically, we were talking about the city projects. We talked about the drain projects. We talked about the bond issues. And out of that, we talk about the grants, and on the agenda tonight, we do have a resolution that came about as a result of today's meeting. But I will like to say this in reference to the statement the mayor made earlier, that sometime when we do our committee reports, it's the only time we get a chance to talk to the people as a report. Until we find a place on the agenda for us to do such, then I think it's kind of wrong to say that you weren't germane to the committee reports. I'm not going to get into an elaboration tonight, but we will discuss this because it's not fair to the aldermen. If they have something to say, this is the time for them to say it. It can't be a rebuttal or a vote from the other aldermen, but at the same time, it is the time for the alderman to speak what he has to say to the people. So I don't agree with your statement earlier. I'm sure that we'll get into it later, but that's my take tonight. Thank you.
Public Health and Welfare, Alderman Brown Jr.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Public Works, Alderman Mays.
Mayor, we haven't had a meeting, but I just want to bring in a lot of calls about trash cans, grass cutting, and potholes. Waste Management number is 247-3747 for the citizens, and the grass cutting is 730-2021. And the potholes, we have quite a few potholes, and that's up on the Public Works as well. And that number is 543-5101. So just kind of giving the citizens an opportunity to call. Talk about the website too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Development and Planning, Alderman Boyd.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Traffic and Aviation, Alderman Holcomb Jr.
Thank you, Mayor. Operation Skyhooks, which is promoted by the Black Pilots of America, will take place during Memorial Day weekend, May the 21st to the 24th, this weekend. There's a promotion banner here. This is the largest event attended. Is Memorial Day Fly, which is called Operation Skyhook. Member chapters arrive for a weekend of fun, aviation, camaraderie, and serious flying competition. The majority of competitors own their aircraft and take great pride in showing off their most prized possession. The event draws a tremendous number of spectators from the surrounding area and generous Black Pilots of America Incorporated. Members volunteer to give airplane rides, Young Eagle flights to hundreds of enthusiastic kids. Many local youth receive first airplane ride and exposure to aviation during the fly-in. Many of these same youth go on to pursue active career in aviation. This will take place during Memorial Day weekend. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. I've been reminded that if you would, as you're giving a report or speaking, please pull the mic as close to you as you can. It's not recording on the television station. They're not able to hear you properly on the TV station. So, thank you, sir. Administration, Alderman Stebbs.
Yes, Mayor, we had a meeting, and we had the item 4 was on the agenda and received a due pass from the committee. Item number 5 received a due pass. Item number 9, 10, and 11 all received a due pass from the committee. Mayor, that's the end of my report.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Public Safety, Alderwoman Walker.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. On to ordinances and resolutions.
Yes, Mayor, we have an ordinance amending Section 16-3 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas to address waste accumulation around dumpsters and containers, up for the third and final reading.
An ordinance amending Section 16-3 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, to address waste accumulation around dumpsters and containers.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second that an ordinance amending Section 16-3 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, to address waste accumulation around dumpsters and containers. The floor is now open for discussion.
I had a question on this one. Did it go back to committee? 'Cause I know this was up before, so
Yes, it did. And
what was the recommendation from the committee on this?
I don't know that it went back to committee.
I don't know either.
I don't think that it did. It was pulled to go back, but I don't recall it going back to the committee.
And we have, it's been redrafted as to be dealt with on the apartments only. That was the only problem that we had with it. It was directing, we took the residents out and added the apartment complexes in there. And because if you notice around our city, the apartment complex is having 10 individual trash cans thrown all over the place outside. And some of you all had agreed to, if we put it back and put the apartments on there, that you would look at it again. I'm not gonna pull it either. So,
We're not asking you to pull it.
Just one second. I think Alderman May still has the floor.
thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
And it's been back and forth, back and forth. It's been back and forth, back and forth. I mean, we know we have a problem with this issue in our city, and it's time to just start dealing with the issues that we have in our city one by one in order to fix these things that we see. We just can't continue to go the way we're going and not address our issues like we're supposed to as leaders.
I understand.
Alderman
what you're saying.
Brown?
Oh, I understand what you're saying, Alderman Mays, but I think we agreed the first time we had it that it should go back to committee and let the committee, make any necessary changes to it and then bring it back to the full council. I think that's kind of what we agreed on in the first place.
I do not recall, did it go back to committee, Alderman Mays, do you know?
Well, I don't think so. We pulled it, I pulled it twice. And I think this time is the one.
Which committee did it go to?
What, public safety?
No.
Because it's dealing with,
Health and welfare,
would it go to public health and welfare?
if I'm not mistaken.
If it goes there, I'll take it,
Alderman Brown still has the floor. Are you done?
Oh, well, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Walker?
Yes, line number 21, it still refers to the tenants or any adult physically residing at the residence. It's not just apartment owners. It still refers to as individuals.
Well, Attorney Childers pulled it out. This is not the same one, is it, Attorney Childers?
The section 1 is just definitions. Line 21, occupants, that's simply a definition. The heart of it is found over in number 2 on line 14 of the second page. It refers to the owner and manager of an apartment complex.
Can you speak up, Joe, please?
Sure. The heart of the ordinance is found on line 14 on the second page, where it talks about the owner and manager of an apartment complex or multi-unit housing structure or commercial entity of any sort. The burden is placed on the owner or manager to ensure that the dumpsters and containers on the property are not overflowing with waste. The penalty against the tenants or occupants was removed. So it's strictly something addressed against owners and managers.
But line 21, it was, what is it for?
On the first page, at line 21, if you look just above that on line 20, you'll see it says definitions. The following definitions apply to this subsection D, and then the first definition, of course, is occupant, then below that owner and manager. It simply defines the individuals so that we can, occupants will be separated from owners, and owner will have its own definition, the manager will have its own definition. But the actual operative language is directed against owner and manager of the complex or multi-housing structure. It does not apply to tenants or occupants.
The only question I have with this, and we probably need to discuss this in committee, is the fact that we still have single-family homes that are owned by landlords, and they're still responsible for making sure that the trash is dumped and the dumpsters are done right, and that whenever that tenant moves out, 9 times out of 10, that tenant will put all of their throwaways right in the front yard, and it takes forever to get that disposed of. So we do not have anything regulatory-wise that can stop that. So yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I understand. That's why all the women and men wanted to pull residents out. So now the resident resolution or ordinance can be a separate one. This is directing, like I was asked to do it first, to the apartments. And that's the issue that we're dealing with right now. Now, the other one, if you want to write it, if anybody want to do another ordinance on the residents, that's a whole different issue.
Okay. So it needs to go back to committee? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is, if this is for the apartment complexes.
Okay. All right, we've got a motion on the floor and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, let's have roll call, please.
Alderman Drummond.
Aye.
Alderman Stepps.
No.
Alderman Walker.
No.
Alderman Boyd.
No.
Alderman Brown Senior.
No.
Alderman Mays.
Yes.
Alderman Holcomb.
No.
Alderman Brown Jr.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, Mayor, we have an ordinance requiring council approval of any modification or change order in the amount of $5,000 or more and a contract and related purposes up for the third and final reading.
An ordinance requiring council approval of any modification or change order in the amount of $5,000 or more in a contract and related purposes.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that an ordinance requiring council approval of any modification or change order in the amount of $5,000 or more in a contract and related purposes. Floor is now open for discussion. Yes, sir. Alderman Brown?
This has been the committee, correct?
Yeah. Said the
Okay.
last week.
And the recommendation was do pass?
Do pass.
Okay.
Alderman, anybody else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Drummond.
Aye.
Alderman Stepps.
Aye.
Alderman Walker.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd. Alderman Brown Senior.
Aye.
Alderman Mays.
Aye.
Alderman Holcomb.
Aye.
Alderman Brown Jr.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Mayor, we have an ordinance providing for the rezoning of certain territory in the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, up for the third and final reading.
An ordinance providing for the rezoning of certain territory in the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Move for adoption.
It's been properly moved and second that an ordinance providing for the rezoning of certain territory in the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have an ordinance amending provisions regarding maternity leave in section 7.4 of the non-uniform employee handbook up for the second reading.
An ordinance amending provisions regarding maternity leave in section 7.4 of the non-uniform employees handbook.
We'll place it on the calendar for the next meeting. We have an ordinance amending provisions regarding internal promotions and transfers in section 3.9 of the non-uniform employee handbook up for the second reading.
An ordinance amending provisions regarding internal promotions and transfers in section 3.9 of the non-uniform employee handbook.
We'll place it on the calendar. We have an ordinance amending provisions regarding job abandonment in section 5.8 of the non-uniform employees handbook up for the second reading.
An ordinance amending provisions regarding job abandonment in section 5.8 of the non-uniformed employees handbook.
Will be placed on the
Point of
calendar.
interest. Point of interest. I think we passed an ordinance that we could discuss any ordinance, either first, second, or third reading. Am I correct?
Are you addressing me?
I'm addressing anybody that's listening.
Okay, you need to address the chair.
Okay, we did pass an ordinance that if we want to discuss any ordinance, first, second, or third reading. We did pass that. Am I correct, Alderman Steps?
Yes, I think so.
It's been past 30 days, so I just wanted to say that in case we forget that if it's read for the first time, we could discuss, the second time we could discuss. And the reason why we need to do that, because sometimes we'll sit here and say that it's been out there for 3 readings and nobody said anything. So we decided that we discuss it on whichever reading that we would like to discuss it. I don't have anything to say. I wanted to make sure that while we were talking about it.
But this has did it go to a committee? It's already?
Yes.
Yeah, we had a meeting Thursday.
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Did we read it second time?
She ever read it. Everything's over. It's just that I wanted to get that in before.
Okay, we have an ordinance prescribing residency rules for department heads and uniformed public safety employees of the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and related purposes up for the second reading.
An ordinance prescribing residency rules for the department heads and uniformed public safety employees of the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and related purposes.
We'll place it on the calendar. We have an ordinance adopting protocols and internal accounting controls for audit and accounting purposes for the assignment of duties related to the dispersing of funds for payroll, bonded debt, and construction projects funded with bond proceeds, up for the second reading.
An ordinance adopting protocols and internal accounting controls for audit and accounting purposes for the assignment of duties relating to the dispersing of funds for payroll, bonded debt, and construction projects funded with bond proceeds.
The Ways and Means Committee recommended that this be completed tonight, so I move we suspend the rules and place the ordinance on the third and final reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second that we suspend the rules and place on the second reading an ordinance adopting. Oh,
We already had the second.
oh, that's right, sorry. Place on the third reading an ordinance adopting protocols and internal accounting controls for audit and accounting purposes for the assignment of the duties relating to the dispersing of funds for payroll, bonded debt, and construction projects funded with bond procedures. Any discussion? May we have roll call, please?
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Just 1 second. Alderman Brummer, you're the sponsor. Could you explain this ordinance for us, please?
Well, could we wait till the final vote and then we'll get Mr. Miller up?
I'd like for it to be done now because I have to vote until then, if possible.
We'll discuss that on the third reading, sir. We're going to pass it on to the third reading for discussion.
Now I'm going to see the problem that I'm having is I'll have to vote until the third reading. And by then it'll make me feel like I agree with it. So I'd like to have some talk on it before I vote continuously.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to suspend the rules. Do you have any comments on suspending the rules?
I asked the question.
Okay.
And it's as long as it's the ordinance, we could discuss it. But when you have me to go through the third reading to get my answers, by then myself and everybody else maybe already agree with it because they've constantly voted yes. That's what I'm saying. I would like for it to be explained at this time. That way we'll know we want to continue to vote yes.
We're suspending the rules to move it to third reading so we can discuss it. It's not saying that you're for it. We're just going to discuss it. That's all we're doing.
It can be discussed on any
Yeah,
reading.
but my vote is going to count during trying to get it to the third reading, and that's all I'm saying. You know, if everybody's sitting at the table voting no on the third reading, then you have no discussion. You can't get to the third reading. But I'm just trying to figure out why we can't discuss what it means now. That way we can go from there to the third reading. But you have me to vote yes to get to the third reading. By then, my mind and everybody else sitting at the table think that you're going to agree with it. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying we can discuss it now. That way I can figure out what I'm saying yes to on a constant basis to.
I don't think it's a big problem. Just go ahead and have them explain it now. I mean, it won't be 2 explanations. It'll just still be 1. So let's just go ahead and bring them up.
Well, the thing is, we'll have more questions probably after the third reading.
What makes it different?
Because we'll be bringing them up more than once.
Mayor, what could happen is the motion to suspend the rules, that could, basically, we could stay that motion, and then the discussion can take place as it relates to the, I guess, the purpose of the ordinance.
Okay. Is that what you advise? Okay.
Maybe that one.
Mr. Miller, please.
Well, what started this is an audit point. You know, the city has had payroll outsourced to ADP, Automatic Data Processing. It was approved by the council back in 2008 as an efficiency. You know, it allowed us to process payroll more efficiently and more reliably because, you know, ADP has extensive backups. And anyway, so that was been in place. And legislative audits noted a conflict in our doing that and state law that said that you cannot outsource the collection or dispersing of funds to anyone other than a city employee. Now, the point on bonded debt, you know, there are cities all over the state that have bond issues, and they always handle their bonded debt through a trustee bank like Simmons Bank, and that's also been a conflict. And so, you know, our solution, we talked to ADP and considered modifying the payroll process, but that wouldn't be efficient. It wasn't a good solution. So we brought to the council an ordinance to ask the municipal league to support changing the state law to allow outsourcing payroll, you know, to outside entities. And legislative audits worked with the municipal league on that. I participated in a meeting, and they asked for certain controls to be put in place, one of which was to, you know, pass an ordinance to the city council, also documenting controls, and then that there's adequate insurance, you know, in place to make sure that, you know, the city is protected. And with all that put in place, legislative audits supported the legislation in the Arkansas legislature to change this law to allow cities to outsource payroll. And it passed. And so now we're in a position where the legislature has done what our city council has asked, and but the law that was passed requires the city council pass an ordinance approving that, that, you know, we're going to have payroll outsourced, which we do today, as well as the bonded debt outsourced to our trustee bank, as we do today, and numerous other Arkansas cities do. Now, the bonded debt wasn't in our resolution, and, you know, legislative audits noted that that was a conflict in the law too, and they wanted to get that resolved, and so that's why that is in the Act 582, and you know, why it's in our ordinance, so that, you know, our outsourcing of the trustee function for bonded debt will be covered.
Are we the only city? Yeah. Are we the only city?
We're definitely not the only city that has bond issues. You
No,
know,
I'm talking about the outsourcing, because according to what you just said, it was like not necessarily legal transaction at first, and then you said that it went through the state legislature or something like that. So I'm trying to figure out what pinpoints it to Pine Bluff.
I'm sorry, what was that?
What pinpoints it to Pine Bluff?
Well, it started with Pine Bluff because we had an audit point for the payroll outsourcing. And we're not the only city in the state that outsources payroll, but there are not many that do. But now, as far as outsourcing the function of you know, managing bonded debt, the trustee function, any city in the state that has a bond issue, you know, has that outsourced. And so almost all the major cities, you know, have that in place. So we're not alone at all on that. But there are other cities that outsource payroll. And I think there are a number of other cities that will outsource payroll now that this law is passed because it's more efficient. You know, payroll is very complex. The laws change continually. There are IRS penalties for, failing to comply, and a number of Arkansas cities have gotten in trouble on their payroll. I think Batesville owed $1 million to the IRS because they failed to make their payroll tax payments, and then that had a negative impact on their ability to fund city operations. And, once the IRS uncovers this, they demand payment. They can take the payment from your bank account. Wire it straight out of your bank account. Sheridan had a problem with a similar problem where they didn't pay their payroll taxes. Gould had a situation like that and owed the IRS $250,000. So, outsourcing payroll can actually protect cities as well as be more efficient. And that's part of the reason that legislative audits supported this.
Are you the only one that work with our payroll?
I'm sorry?
Are you the only one that work with our payroll?
No, actually, Angela Henderson in my department is our payroll and benefits administrator, and Gina Devers, our internal auditor, backs her up.
Nobody else here work with the payroll but you?
Well, actually, Ms. Conaway in HR, her department works with payroll. They set up employees.
Is she here?
Do you have a question for her?
Yes.
Okay, are you through with Mr. Miller?
Now, he didn't stand there. We might use him in a
Okay,
minute.
thank you.
Can you give me the importance of this particular ordinance?
Honestly, what I'm thinking on my end is that payroll can be outsourced to ADP, which is what we're using now. If this legislature had not passed, we would have had to move it in-house and make our checks and everything come from in-house.
Are we in-house now?
No, we're with ADP.
Okay.
This is why we were asking for the new legislature.
What is the difference now when you want to go to?
There will not be a difference. We'll continue like we are,
So you're just regulating what you're already doing?
pretty much. Yes.
I had
Any other questions for Ms. Conaway? Yes, sir.
Oh, nothing to Ms. Conway, but I was going to say the reading of the ordinance, and I should have caught this in committee, but on line 28, 29, we have listed companies, automatic data processing, ADP, and Simmons First. As far as the legalities go, I think we should probably keep that more generalized and not name specific companies inside of a legal side of the ordinance. I think, we can do business with whoever we choose to, but I don't think that it should be included in law.
I think, Mr. Miller, I don't know what the legislative audit required. What we're doing here is adopting the legislation. I don't know what legislative audit and the findings, if we have to name.
Mayor, it actually, if you look on the second page, Alderman Brown's referring to what's contained in the whereases on the first page, but if you look in the second page, you'll see that we've added language that refers to ADP and then any successor entity approved by the City Council.
Okay.
And then the Section 3 refers to Simmons First National, and then any successor entity approved by the City Council. So
Okay.
we try to break that.
Okay.
All right.
All right, I just wanted to make sure we weren't just locked in on.
Yeah.
Would that, any successor, would that be a successor to ADP?
Anybody that is a successor to doing payroll.
No.
If we discovered another company that could give us a better deal and the City Council approved the contract, and yes, it could be a successor ADP. If another bank or financial entity did a better job on as a bond trustee, then certainly we would use them as a bond trustee. We're not locked into these two companies. They just happen to be the ones we use right now and have a ongoing business relationship with. But if in the future we can get a better deal, we can certainly change companies.
Okay, but Section 2 that deals with the payroll and the successor to ADP. Now that deals, excuse me, that deals only with payroll, correct? It doesn't have anything to do with bond issues.
Yes, Section 2, it refers to the payroll, and then Section 3 refers to the bonded debt and bond proceeds, contracts, things like that.
Okay, but the successor doesn't have anything to do with Section 3, am I correct?
Well, in each section, it provides that any successor entity will have to be approved by the city council, so there can be a successor entity so long as the entity is approved by the council.
Okay, but that's not what it says. Where we are talking about the successor, we are only dealing with ADP, correct?
And then line 17 on down there talks about the bank.
Oh, I know that, but that doesn't say anything about a successor.
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Oh,
Right up
successor
above it.
to, the council.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
How does House Bill 1445 and the ordinance tie into or bind together with the certificate of liability insurance in here?
Well, the bill requires that we have sufficient insurance in place. It says in Section B of the bill, the governing body of municipalities shall ensure that the persons or entity is adequately insured and bonded. And so,
So that's $2 million on the bill.
yeah,
The ordinance is just they got a $2 million insurance certificate on the bond.
that's correct. Both ADP and Simmons have insurance in place to protect the city if anything were to go wrong in their management or disbursement of our funds, so that the insurance would make us whole or reimburse the city for any loss. And that's required in the bill, that insurance be in place. You know, the city has, through the state, its own surety bond to cover if there's a loss due to theft by a city employee, for example, and that's $250,000. So the insurance that's been provided here by ADP and Simmons is well in excess of that.
This for Mr. Miller. How long have we been outsourcing the payroll?
Since 2008.
Okay. And the legislative audit said that it should not be done. So we passing legislation so that it can be outsourced. Personally, I don't have a problem with it being outsourced because I think that is better. But it was something that they said was not supposed to be done and that we need to fix the issue. But it didn't say anything about this other. But I agree with the payroll. It should continue to be outsourced. I think it's better that way. But as far as the other is concerned, I don't see this as naming people whether it says successor or not. Okay,
Who handles our bond?
Simmons Trust.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller? All right, thank you. Now we have, we need to do roll call to suspending the rules.
Alderman Brummett?
Aye.
Alderman Steps?
No.
Alderman Walker?
no.
Alderman Boyd?
Aye.
Alderman Brown Senior?
No.
Alderman Mays?
No.
Alderman Holcomb?
Aye.
Alderman Brown Jr.
Okay, we got 4 to 4? Okay, I will break the tie and vote yes. Motion passes, to suspend the rules. 2/3? Okay, motion passes, fails.
We'll just place it on the calendar for the next meeting.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, the next meeting we'll have the third and final reading.
May I make a,
Yes, sir.
I think what the problem is that there's still something in there that we're not quite understanding, and maybe we need to do a better job of that because we want what's best for the city. But there's something within this ordinance that's not necessarily in plain enough, understandable English, and I think that's what we need to work on.
Simmons Bank is currently our bond distributor. We cannot remove them. There are millions of dollars in bonds that Simmons is the distributor for right now. If the city council does not approve Simmons as the bond distributor, everybody who's bought those bonds is going to immediately be thinking there's jeopardy for the city council's bonds. We'll put our entire bond issue
Ratings.
at risk. So I don't say you don't have a choice, but if you don't want to approve them, then you have to face the consequences of what may happen to our bonds.
We're still on second reading. We got the third reading.
Mayor, that's what go ahead.
Alderman Steps, go ahead.
That's what I was gonna say. It's just not to put it on the third reading now. And that's why I asked the question, because I know that someone has our bonds. And I'm on the committee, and I know that. And I don't think and I know that we're not in a position to vote against that. And that's not what we're saying. And I think what we're saying that in the event that some other question will come up, at least you'll have an opportunity to ask them. And I think that's why the hesitation was for the third reading. Not because Simmons is dealing with the bonds, because I know that they're handling our bonds now. That wasn't the concern. But I think that it lends an opportunity not to force it through and go through the final reading in the event there's some other questions or concerns that might come up. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, moving on.
We'll place it on the calendar for the next meeting for the third and final reading. Okay, now we have an ordinance. I'm going to read the title as the city attorney has passed it along to me as an ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 1 to Special Projects Coordinator within the Pine Bluff Fire Department up for the first reading.
Did you skip 9?
And this ordinance, what happened, there was a miscommunication with the chief, and as opposed to creating a new position, he wants to reclassify another position. So I just basically changed the language to reflect that. Whereas it is essential to reclassify the position of Secretary 1 to Special Projects Coordinator to the staff of the Pine Bluff Fire Department for the purpose of coordinating special projects and initiatives and assisting the chief in the performance of duties as it relates to public outreach. And whereas the salary for said position should be commensurate with the range established by the Johansson Group. And whereas the 2015 budget for the Pine Bluff Fire Department should be increased to fund the reclassified position of Special Projects Coordinator. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, that the position of Secretary 1 is hereby reclassified to Special Projects Coordinator within the Pine Bluff Fire Department with duties and responsibilities as reflected in the attached position description. The beginning salary for said position shall be $30,651, which shall be allocated from the Executive and Fire Department budgets. Section 2, the 2015 city budget is hereby amended to add the wages and benefits for the reclassified position of Special Projects Coordinator within the Fire Department. The Fire Department shall take into account the new position when preparing its budget for 2016 and each year thereafter. Section 3, because this ordinance is not general or permanent in nature, it shall be in effect from the date of its passage without cause for publication.
Move. Suspend the rules and place the ordinance on the second reading.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second to suspend the rules and place on second reading an ordinance to create the reclassification. Oh, thank you. An ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 1 to Special Projects Coordinator within the Pine Bluff Fire Department. I think I said that right. Okay. May we have discussion? Any discussion? May we have roll call, please?
Alderman Brumman.
Aye.
Alderman Steps.
Aye.
Alderman Walker. Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Brown Senior.
Aye.
Alderman Mays. Alderman Holcomb.
Aye.
Alderman Brown Jr.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes.
An ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 1 to Special Projects Coordinator within the Pine Bluff Fire Department.
Move to further suspend the rules and place the ordinance on the third and final reading.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and second to suspend the rules and place ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 1 to Special Projects Coordinator within the Pine Bluff Fire Department. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, may we have roll call, please?
Alderman Brumett.
Aye.
Alderman Stepps. Alderman Walker. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Brown Senior. Alderman Mays. Alderman Holcomb. Alderman Brown Junior.
Aye.
Motion passes.
An ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 1 to Special Projects Coordinator within the Pine Bluff Fire Department.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that an ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 1 to Special Projects Coordinator within the Pine Bluff Fire Department. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, now we'll go back to the budget adjustment that's in our packet. It's adjusted non-uniform administrative salaries in the fire department due to new personnel. You see the amount was $6,628 for salaries, $507 for Social Security, and $463 for retirement. I move we accept this budget adjustment.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a budget adjustment to move salaries within the fire department be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have an ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 3 to Office Manager within the Pine Bluff Fire Department, up for the first reading.
Whereas it is essential to reclassify the current position of Secretary 3 to the position of Office Manager in the Pine Bluff Fire Department to reflect the increased responsibilities associated with overseeing the day-to-day operations of the fire department. And whereas the salary for said position should be commensurate with the range established by the Johansson Group. And whereas the 2015 budget for the Pine Bluff Fire Department should be increased to fund the reclassified position of Office Manager. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, that the position of Secretary 3 is hereby reclassified to Office Manager within the Pine Bluff Fire Department with the duties and responsibilities reflected in the attached position description. The beginning salary for said position shall be $31,894. The difference in salary created by the increase shall be allocated from the Executive and Fire Department budgets. Section 2, the 2015 city budget is hereby amended to account for the increased wages and benefits for the reclassified position of Office Manager. The Fire Department shall take into account the increased salary for this position when preparing its budget for 2016 and each year thereafter. Because this ordinance is not general or permanent in nature, it shall be effective from the date of its passage without cause of publication.
Mayor moves suspend the rules, place the ordinance on the second reading.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made to suspend the rules and second on an ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 3 to an Office Manager within the Pine Bluff Fire Department. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, may we have roll call, please?
Alderman Brumett.
Aye.
Alderman Stepps.
Aye.
Alderman Walker. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Brown Senior.
Present.
Alderman Mays.
Aye.
Alderman Holcomb.
Aye.
Alderman Brown Junior.
Aye.
Motion carries.
An ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 3 to Office Manager within the Pine Bluff Fire Department.
Moves further suspend the rules, place the ordinance on the third and final reading.
It's been properly moved and second to suspend the rules and place the ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 3 to Office Manager within the Pine Bluff Fire Department to the third reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, may we have roll call?
Alderman Brumett.
Aye.
Alderman Stepps.
Aye.
Alderman Walker. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Brown Senior.
Present.
Alderman Mays.
Aye.
Alderman Holcomb.
Aye.
Alderman Brown Junior.
Aye.
Motion carries.
An ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 3 to Office Manager within the Pine Bluff Fire Department.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that an ordinance to reclassify the position of Secretary 3 to Office Manager within the Pine Bluff Fire Department. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in
Yep.
favor say aye.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I really favor this, but I'm always reminded of the budget, and I have a problem with that. Maybe this may cost us more in 6 months to a year or 2 years than we're looking at. But, you know, as far as if I could actually vote without thinking about that budget, then it would be okay. But I'm thinking about where our budget's going to be when this salary goes from where it is to the next level. And that's the only reason I have a problem with it. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, did you vote present?
Yes,
or
I
no? Okay. Okay, thank you. Motion carried.
Okay, we have a resolution requesting Mazan Rahman return as personal representative for ETC Engineers and Architects Incorporated in its management of the city's bond projects.
Whereas the city has contracted with ETC Engineers and Architects Incorporated to serve as project manager for the city's multiple bond-funded improvement projects, and whereas at the time the agreement was executed, ETC was represented by Mr. Mazan Rahman, and it was assumed and understood that Mr. Rahman would be ETC's representative in fulfilling its contract to serve as projects manager for the city. And whereas ETC appears to have replaced Mr. Rahman as its representative, and whereas due to the fact that Mr. Rahman has been involved from the beginning with the city in planning and oversight of these projects and has knowledge of the players involved, attributes which cannot be simply handed off to a new representative, his continued participation would be advantageous to the expeditious completion of the projects and beneficial to the city. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, the mayor is directed to communicate to ETC the strong desire of the city that Mr. Mazan Rahman be returned as its representative with the city in performance of its contract as projects manager for the city's bond projects.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Mayor, it's line 14, I would like for that to be removed because ECT did not replace Mr. Razan. So I request that 14 be scratched.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that the resolution requesting Mr. Mazan Rahman return as personal representative for ETC Engineers and Architects Incorporated in its management of the city's bond projects. Floor is now open for discussion. Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, at what point was he not, well, you said he wasn't replaced, so exactly what are we trying to do with this resolution exactly?
Because he was just left out of projects. He had come on from the beginning, and he was left out. He was not notified when there were meetings, and it's not in the best interest of the city for him not to be involved. So we are sponsoring this resolution to get him back on the projects. That's the multipurpose center, Townsend Park, and it would have been Saracen Landing with the splash park, but that's completed now, so that's out. But he was to be the person over all of our bond projects. And so this is just to make sure that he is back in place.
I'm going to make some comments to this. Mr. Razan was never removed from Townsend Park, Splash Park, or from the restrooms. He was awarded the contract, and he has been over those projects since day one. His company, the architectural firm, he has guys from his office that has direct oversight on those projects, so he has never been removed from those at all. What happened is that as we were having our weekly task force meetings, different projects were awarded out to the architectural firms and construction firms. Once those are awarded out, then the oversight changes to the architectural firms and the construction firms. Mr. Mazan does not have direct oversight over that anymore. The person that's awarded the contract has the oversight. So all I want to add to this is, if Mr. Matthews wants to come forward, that if we want to bring Mr. Mazan back on, that will be a huge cost to the city where it's not needed. So Mr. Matthews, would you like to add to that?
Okay, kind of give you a little background as to what Mr. Mazzan and his contract was. When we first passed the 5/8 cent sales tax, the city had no idea of how to formulate these projects, put them in prospect, and get the engineers. It was his duty as the project manager to get us from that point to the point where we have individual engineers, architects on the project. Once we got to that point, the liability of how those projects go then lie on whoever that firm is, because it will be their designs, it will be their construction documents, and in their contract, we pay them for construction oversight. Now, we didn't send Mr. Mazzan away as that when these projects come on, there was less responsibility for him to do in the fact that the new architect or the new engineer took liability for that particular project. And in some of the cases, we have been over budgeted, not enough funding for some of the projects, so it's cost saving, and we've had this discussion with Mr. Mazzan that my services are not really needed at this point on some of these jobs that we have under contract, under construction, because he would be duplicating the work from the firm that we have on. And the dollars and cents for each one of the projects, the animal control, the Joe Thomas, very thin. Any additional work that Mazzan will do will have to come out of the reserve funds that we have. So that's how we kind of got from point A to point B with Howard Mazzan and his duties. And we pay Mazzan on an hourly basis. He has a not to exceed cost for each project. And when he sends us a bill, the bill is for the hours and services that he's worked for. So that's how he's kind of been backed out of the projects that are under contract. The community center is the only project that we have not sold the bonds on, and streetscape, but we do have architects and we do have engineers on board that are handling those particular projects.
Alderman Holcomb.
How much is he paid an hour?
Oh, well, it's not cheap. I don't have the hourly.
I think Mr. $150 an hour.
Oh, yeah, first of all, our contract is with ETC, correct?
Yes.
And they disperse Mazzan here, correct?
Mazzan just happens to be the owner and president.
Okay, and so we are still under contract with them?
We are.
Okay, all right. I call for the vote.
That's what I was just going to ask you, Mayor, because we talked about the other day whether or not if the contract has ended.
Well, yes, because we knew that the amount was around $700,000, and there's still some remaining. I think one of the points we need to bring out here is that from some of the discussions in the past is that some people were upset with Townsend Park and Splash Park and the restrooms. And all of those projects come under Mazzan. He is the contractor, and he is the architect, and he is the one that has direct oversight on all of those projects. Yes, sir.
Can I suggest that we just, on this, move it to a committee so we can discuss it a little further, because I'm really not understanding what we're trying to do if we're trying to bring somebody back in that's already...
That should have been here all the time.
Right, but I would hate to have to make this vote right now. Can we just send it to a committee so we can sit down and discuss it a little further so we can I want to get a better understanding of what this is exactly, because I don't want to bring in a man and pay him $150 an hour.
That's not, we are still under contract with him. We are still paying him correctly.
Yes, the contract.
We're still paying him.
No.
He's just not here.
We're not paying him. The contract is a not to exceed item based on when we need his services. We're not building anything if he's not coming down, okay? But the contract is still there. If we need him, if there's a controversy, we will call him in, whatever the controversy is that we need him to work on. We don't have to redo a contract. It's still in effect.
I guess my question is, if he's still under contract, he doesn't get paid unless he's called in, or is that amount set aside for him?
Yes, if he gets called in, we'll have to pay him for the hours worked.
you talked about having to go back into the 5/8 sales tax set aside. When we set the $700,000 contract out there, awarded it for him, did we not allocate the money at that time where it would be used?
It's only used as needed. I'm not sure if that particular portion was set aside. He's been paid for all the services that he's provided as far as being the individual architect, engineer, as far as being the city bond manager. He's billed by hours. He presented us a proposal that said, for all these services, if I do all of this on all these projects, it's going to cost $750, not to exceed that price.
Okay. And that include the animal shelter and everything?
Yes.
So this is what the amount was set aside for him?
I'm not sure if that amount was set aside.
But is it possible to just get a meeting set up with Mr. Mazan to see exactly where everybody is on this before we make a decision on it? Because I'm not quite sure exactly.
Okay, Alderman Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand where you're going with this, Alderman Walker. I was in some of the meetings when Mazan was there, and when he stopped coming, the projects took a whole other turn. Example, the bathrooms at Regional Park, that brick bathroom, cost about $80,000. I mean, that's way too much for that little bathroom where you can only get 2 people at a time for a park that size, and they wear off. And even it was another bathroom that was built. These things cost $70,000 a piece. The Townsend Park ball field, Mazan gave us a better scope than what it is now. The concession stand looked like the bathrooms at the splash pad. And for your correction, that's not a splash park. It's a splash pad. And the water goes straight up and down. It doesn't do special turns or nothing like that. But the thing about it is the whole design, the ballpark, the Townsend Park, was supposed to have a round concession stand like the ones at Regional. And it's nothing like, and it had the bleachers in there, the scoreboard. I remember all these things up front. And that's why I abandoned some of those meetings, because I seen the turn that all of our bond projects were taking, which is unfair to the citizens of Pine Bluff. Even some of the contractors, I went when they was building that splash pad, and they were saying the contractors were doing the works, and this is not right for the city. This is not proper for the city of this size to have a little small splash pad. These are the people who are doing the work out there.
Alderman Bays, I'm going to do a little correction for you. Mazan is the architect for those projects. He did not go away. He designed them. He did the construction management on all 3 of those projects. Nothing has changed. He's the one that did the design work. He's the one that put it out for bid. He's the one that's overseeing the construction of the projects. Nothing changed from the first time those plans came out to the construction is completed. That is what was approved by your committee. That's what was approved by the Parks Commission committee. Nothing has changed. The project was bidded. We took the lowest bidder on each one of those projects. The projects are being built according to the design that went out to bid.
Now, my committee, Public Works, approved those projects. Some of them, they were already started before I came on Public Works as chairman, because Alderman Boyd was the chairman, I think, for my first 2 or 3 years on it. Now, the scope of those projects were different in the beginning, and that's why I approved them, that I went along with them, because I was up under you at that time, and then I took over Public Works. The scope of those projects started scaling back as we went on. The jets in that splash pad were decreased. The ball field at Townsend Park has been decreased. Am I right or wrong?
You're wrong.
I'm right. There have been no scoreboard. Mazan, the scoreboard was in the initial contract, the scope of the work, the bleachers, you know. Now y'all saying bring your own chairs to the park to watch the baseball game.
There are bleachers out there now.
Well, they're because we demanded some bleachers, and what about the scoreboards?
Scoreboards will be installed as soon as they come in.
Just let me finish, just 1 second. Go ahead. Alderman Mays, are you, any more questions?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The projects are being done in accordance to what we bought to the committees, what we bidded out, the plans are being watched and merited in the correct way. That's the only thing I can answer to, Mayor.
Okay. Alderman Steps?
At this point with those projects, what, about 99% complete? What could we change now if we changed anything?
Nothing.
We can't change anything. And I think that what I'm understanding is that the project, when we get to the multipurpose center and the other aquatic center, and I think that that's the point that if we need Mazan to come on at that time, since he still has some allocations that's due, then I think that maybe we could do that at that time. Is that what I'm understanding? Not on the past projects.
No, because they're not finished.
But we already have an architect on board.
And they just so are you saying that we have an architect on board for the multipurpose center as well?
Well, for the aquatic center, yes.
But that's what I'm saying, is that we haven't started on either one of the projects. Am I correct?
You're correct.
And that's what I was saying. If there was a need for him to be on those projects at that time, then we would still have an opportunity to do so. Is that what I'm hearing?
You know,
What are we saying then?
where we have the aquatic center, are you saying that with the aquatic center that you would not need Mazan on that because you have a architect to do that?
We have an architect to do it, not saying we don't need Mazan, because Mazan has reviewed each design, even with the other architects. He's reviewed each design before we went to bid. They have been run by him, and we will probably do the same thing with the aquatic center. Once the architects are complete with their design, we will ask Mazan for his review of those projects prior to going to bid.
And after they've been done?
After they've been designed, because we are paying a different firm to design it.
Well, as I recall, that Mazan was in at the beginning of the aquatic center, and because he had discussed at some meetings, some of the ones up at Benton and different places like that.
Yes.
He even bought back sketches of them, and we viewed some film on it. So he has been involved. So now you're saying that for him to be out of that as well?
Well, no, those visits were set up by Mazan for the new architects, which is Nelson Architect and Craft and Toll. They also attended those trips as well.
Oh, so now the architect for the new will be the same as the architect for all the others. That's Nelson and who?
Craft and Toll is the selected architect for the Aquatics and Multipurpose Center. They are the ones that the city and the city council approved to hire to pay for the design work for the Multipurpose Center and the aquatics. They are the own firm that will do the design work. Once the design work is completed, along with the committee that they have been working with, then we will present the plans to Mazan as well as to the Public Works Committee for review and approval.
So in other words, he will not be involved with it. You just present it to him once it's done.
Yes. He has no contract to do any design. His contract basically carried us up through the procurement stage to get the on-board architect for the project.
I guess I got one question.
Yes, sir.
When he's brought on, or if he's brought on, after the design has been completed, if there are some necessary changes to that design, would he have an opportunity to make any suggestions to the architect?
Yes, he would.
No, well, I tell you what, I will pull my resolution and Mazan can be at the next council meeting.
Yes.
And then he can explain his side.
Yes.
And, may I say something? That's what Alderman Brown Jr. was saying. I agree with bringing him in, and let's talk to him. Yes. What about now, Brother Eddie? Thank you.
Okay, we
I was
need,
in on some of the meetings, and it seems to me that the architects are slowing things down with the projects. I've heard one of them say that when we was talking about the multi-purpose centers and getting a splash pad and finding some property, that we don't need that in Pine Bluff. We already have it in Whitehall. I heard one of the architects say that in one of the meetings, and that wasn't fair to hear him say that. But what we're doing is all of our projects are slowed down, and they are not on scope the way they were put on paper at first. That's because I was so excited on them the way they were in those meetings. And the end and finished product is not what the original scope said. And I can't buy it because I saw that on paper. And everything that's for Pine Bluff is really off track for our citizens. And once again, one of the contractors was saying that himself. That was digging the dirt and with tractors and everything. What's the contractor? The
ICO.
ICO. You know, one of the contractors. I stopped and talked with some of these guys sometime, and I looked at the project as they were going. And it's not fair to our citizens it's not fair to our citizens to have projects like that that are not community friendly.
I guess the only thing I'm saying, Mayor, is that, you know, I'm not saying that what Alderman Mays is saying is true, but it's difficult for me to understand that if an architect gonna make some money on a project, is why they talk against something that they've been hired to do. Because if they go out there and do the scope of this work and draw up the design, they know they're gonna get paid. And so it's gonna be difficult for me to see them saying, no, I don't wanna do this work, because if they don't do it, then certainly we'll get somebody else to come in and do a design. So maybe I'm not understanding, but in as much I think it has been pulled, and so we can move forward with it.
any other questions from Mr. Matthews? Thank you, sir. You've done a great job. Yeah. Yes, sir?
Let me just say this, on behalf of the people that live in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, our splash pad or park is not to be compared to Whitehall. Whitehall used a big major tax to get that splash pad, that splash park. Pine Bluff shared about 8 to 10 different bond issue projects for what we got. I want people to understand that first. And it's not, and I'm not your council member if I don't explain that to you. That's the difference between the splash park project that we have in Pine Bluff and what Whitehall did. It's totally different. Even though a lot of us wish we had that, but that project is totally different. We had, with the 5/8 sales tax, we had about, I don't know, somebody need to help me, about 8 to 10 projects to come from that money. And you have to spend it in that area. So, whereas I may not agree with some things, I can definitely say that to the people that are listening, and those that are not listening, please convey that information to them, that it's a big difference in where the tax money was coming from. Thank you.
Okay, we need, I guess, Alderwoman Walker to withdraw your motion in second, if you're going to pull it.
Withdraw the second first, Alderman Brown. You withdraw the
Withdraw
second.
the second.
I withdraw the second.
Okay. Ms. Walker?
You withdraw the motion.
I withdraw the motion until the next meeting.
Okay. Did you get that?
We'll move on to number 13. We have a resolution authorizing the mayor to convey real property, 5310 West 12th Avenue.
Whereas the city is record owner of the real property described below, and whereas an offer to purchase the realty has been received from Ms. Jerry August, and whereas the city has no plans for the property, the offer is fair and reasonable, and transferring the property to private ownership frees the city of the annual cost of maintenance, and promotes objectives consistent with the public good. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, that upon payment of the sum of $300, the mayor is authorized and directed to convey by quitclaim deed to Ms. Jerry August and/or her designee the property listed below. Section 2, payment of the consideration is due within 90 days after passage of this resolution. Once payment is made, the city attorney's office will prepare the quitclaim deed to deliver to Ms. August. If payment is not made within the time period and no extension granted, this authorization is void.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution authorizing the mayor to convey real property, address 5310 West 12th Avenue. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a resolution appointing Harvey Sizemore to the Aviation Commission.
Whereas the term of Kirby Mauser as a member of the Pine Bluff Aviation Commission has expired, and whereas the mayor has elected to appoint Kudra Burrell to succeed Mr. Mauser, subject to council approval.
You skipped 14.
Am I on the wrong one? Sorry. Okay. Whereas the term of Gerald Andrews as a member of the Pine Bluff Aviation Commission has expired, and whereas the mayor has elected to appoint Harvey Sizemore to succeed Mr. Andrews, subject to council approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the mayor's appointment of Harvey Sizemore to the Pine Bluff Aviation Commission to serve a term to expire May 31st, 2020 is hereby approved and confirmed.
Move for adoption.
Second.
I need to say something. I have a comment.
Okay. Do we have a second? Yes. Okay. It's been properly moved and second that the resolution appointing Harvey Sizemore to the Aviation Commission. Floor is open for discussion.
I have a discussion.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is nothing, no reflection on Mr. Harvey Sizemore or Ms. Kudra Burrell. I don't know them personally. I am the chairman of traffic and aviation, and I was not made aware of any of these people being appointed to the Aviation Commission. I just think it's proper protocol that the chairman be made aware of this appointing. And I was told that this resolution was not supposed to go to committee. But I just think if you're chairman of the committee, that you're supposed to be made aware of such appointments.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
thank you. There is some merit to what Alderman Holcomb is saying. Very few of our committees have an exact commission. The aviation, his committee, has a direct commission, and he's right. He should have known before they come before us. City business handles the way they handle them, but sometimes it's not handled the way that the chairman of a committee would like for it to be handled. In this case, he's saying he would like to know who's going to be appointed to that commission. Now, see, community development doesn't have a commission, so I can't complain about that, but I used to be over aviation, and I know what he's talking about. So I agree with Alderman Holcomb.
Okay, I hear what Alderman Holcomb is saying, and I certainly understand that. That has not been the protocol in the past, but we certainly can adopt that. I don't have a problem with it whatsoever, because in the past, we took recommendations, we took applications, and because of the way that it's been done, we just automatically did it. So we can certainly change that, and I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. So do we want to pull these, Alderman Holcomb, and let you review them, or what do you want? What do you recommend?
If I can get that done, if I can take that for my committee.
Well, that's fine. This commission here is appointed by the mayor's office, but it's not subject to commission approval.
I understand.
So, but I think proper protocol is to put it before the chairperson. I do agree with that.
We will meet as soon as possible,
Okay. So we need to pull these two.
if that's,
That'd be fine.
yes, ma'am.
Be glad.
Who
We
made
need to
the-
pull the second then, Alderman Boyd?
Who made the second, Alderman Boyd?
Alderman Boyd?
Will you withdraw your second, sir?
Oh, okay, I withdraw my second, yes.
And I'll
Okay.
withdraw the motion, and we'll send them to, we'll send
Let me say something. I mean,
14 and 15 to committee.
I'm on the
Okay.
Traffic and Aviation Committee up under Chairman Holcomb. I mean, and I was looking at this as well, and I was seeing Ms. Burrell has been in town for 10 months.
No, sir, she's been here for 2 years almost.
Okay, well, it says 10 months on the.
Well, that's her residence now. Okay.
And I,
She's very, very well qualified. She's an environmental lawyer. Her husband's an orthopedic surgeon, and they're a very great couple within our city.
I understand, and I usually look over the qualifications and take my time and read over it, and I saw that. And,
Getting established and new people within the city and getting things done.
and I thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, we have a resolution appointing Ann Polk Talbot to the Board of Trustees of the Pine Bluff Jefferson County Library System.
Whereas Rosie Pettigrew has resigned as one of the city's representatives on the Pine Bluff Jefferson County Library Board of Trustees, and whereas the mayor has appointed Ann Polk Talbot to fill the vacancy, subject to council approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the appointment of Ann Polk Talbot to the Pine Bluff Jefferson County Library Board of Trustees to serve a term to expire October 31st, 2016, is approved and confirmed.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution authorizing, one minute, I'm on the wrong one. Where'd it go? Here we go. A resolution appointing Ann Polk Talbot to the Board of Trustees of the Pine Bluff Jefferson County Library System. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a resolution authorizing the Economic and Community Development Department to apply for a grant from the Arkansas Department of Human Services to combat homelessness in the city of Pine Bluff.
Whereas far too many people in the city are homeless or have a legitimate fear of becoming homeless, and whereas emergency solutions grant funds are available from the Arkansas Department of Human Services to combat this social evil through homeless prevention and rapid rehousing services, and whereas the city can match any grant funds either by money appropriation or in-kind services. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, the Economic and Community Development Department is authorized to apply for emergency solutions grant funds from the Arkansas Department of Human Services to combat the homelessness in the city. The city pledges to match the grant funds provided either via money appropriation or in-kind services.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution authorizing the Economic and Community Development Department to apply for grant from the Arkansas Department of Human Services to combat homelessness in the city of Pine Bluff. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, that concludes our agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.